Well, this is going to be the history of Times Square, and Times Square has morphed into Times Square from other companies over the years. A little conundrum, I just don't have any pictures of the early days, so what am I going to show? But bear with me, there will be a bit of text in the beginning, but plenty of pictures later. Now this is for you millennials who have never seen a real telephone or the old-fashioned one. And this is what the early phones looked like. You lifted the phone up and you dialed the number by putting your finger in the appropriate hole, and when you got your party, you talked into the receiver. Now, a clever fellow by the name of Benedict came up with the idea of having an alarm sensor activate a unit that would have a fork mechanically lift the receiver, and with the moving wheel touching the rim of the dialing wheel, it would dial all the way to the end, which would be zero, and announce to the operator with a recorded voice that a burglary was in progress. And I was so intrigued by this so advanced a device that I hired on as their sales manager. Now, I did this for a couple of years, and when the system started to get obsolete, I decided to start my own business, utilizing the experience I had gained. I hired a salesman and an installation crew and started selling fire, safety, and security devices and systems. The name of the company was Security Headquarters, and it was located in an office space in a shopping mall in Latham. At that time, Radio Shack was selling franchise stores, and I figured that I could get my supplies a lot less expensively if I owned one of those franchises. All around, things were going quite well. The new Radio Shack store was located in Kingston and fitted well into our concept. I had heard about a new incipient fire detection system developed by General Electric. Now, General Electric had sold that system and four other products to a newly formed independent company named Environment One. I was just nosy and I wanted to find out more about it. So one day during lunchtime, I just walked into their office and asked to see the manager for this product. I was told that he was out to lunch, but the president would talk to me. Well, make a long story short, he absolutely insisted that he needed me to handle this product, and eventually I caved in and I accepted his offer. E1 took over our company and our people, and I became the department head for the fire system. It was a very sophisticated system with a minimum cost of $5,000, but I managed to sell quite a number of them all over the world. This is the president, John Matrone of E1, and myself. After a couple of years, I realized that the business could not last. The competition was brutal. E1 eventually got rid of all but one product, and the fire detector was phased out. My wife and I decided to start our own business again. Our idea was to put a kiosk into a shopping mall and offer fire, safety, and security devices such as fire detectors, smoke detectors, escape ladders, alarm systems, baby monitors, fire extinguishers, things like that. And this is our maximum security kiosk in the Mohawk Mall in Schenectady. We added key cutting to our concept, and then calculators and even small computers made by Timex, by the way. They would be worth a fortune right now. We sold hundreds of them. And copy services. And here's my wonderful wife serving a customer. And at this point, we decided to change the name and make it more generic to represent the different products. On a vacation trip to Hong Kong, I tried to get better prices by going directly to one of the factories. But then when they realized how small our company was, I ended up being referred to them to a very good distributor on Lower Broadway in New York City. This was our own little kiosk in Clifton Park, New York, in upstate New York, and we were thinking about franchising the idea. It sure wasn't a bad location. It was right at the entrance to a big shopping mall in Clifton Park. But as for our own store, we decided to make that an inline store and get away from the kiosk. And this is the construction of that store. And here it is. It's still rather small, and we're selling watches and provide services mostly, like installing batteries and selling and adjusting watch bands. And we were starting to get into engraving pretty heavily. And then we opened our second store in Plattsburgh, New York. Our daughter Monica and her husband Peter would take over the store eventually, and here she stands with her son Alex, who is today a lieutenant in the Navy and flies twin-engine planes off a carrier while his wife flies helicopters. And this is how they changed the store. It's a lot bigger and it looks absolutely beautiful. And it has a fish tank in there as well. And then they opened a second store, a clock store in Plattsburgh in the same mall. And this was the grand opening of the new clock store. And now we started our franchising. And this was the first franchise store in Rotterdam, New York, which isn't too far from Albany. Our strong point has always been engraving, and it's a service business, and there's very little cost involved. The display case shows the typical items which we would engrave. Here we are talking about selling a physical item and engraving it, which consists of labor only, of course after the equipment has been amortized. These were the typical engraving jobs that we would receive. Awards, plaques, that sort of thing, but you could also engrave solid items like glasses, and it was quite amazing what you can do. This is one of our new franchise stores under construction, and I will show you a few more of them. I won't give any comment. You can read the lines under that. It's one after another, and they are going in different cities in upstate New York. The franchising really took off. It went pretty well. We had up to 10 locations at this point, and I felt we had almost a family because we met frequently for coffee and we exchanged ideas. But then, and there always has to be one, there was one franchisee, a lady, who lived with a lawyer as a boyfriend, and then she said to me, "Sorry, Bernie, but my friend says I should not pay any more royalty because I know all the suppliers and I don't need you anymore." Now, this is what I must have looked like at that point. Well, there I was. By now, we had a total of 8 franchise stores and a couple of our own, and when I approached my lawyer and told him that the refusal of one franchisee to pay our royalties had resulted in the others threatening to do the same, he said that a lawsuit could easily drag into 5 years and would cost a fortune for me, but not for the lady since her boyfriend was a lawyer. So we had to decide something, and we decided to quit. Then, of course, I had another idea. I thought it was just a wonderful idea. And it was, how about finding an investor and then opening concessions in stores of a food chain where we would change watch batteries and provide services while the customers were purchasing their groceries. Well, here's the grand opening of one of those stores inside of a food chain. We opened a couple of these concessions and it worked out very well until the food chain realized that they could do this themselves. They didn't need us. We called these stores time capsules. Well, it was a big disappointment, but at this point we retrenched and we concentrated on our own store and enlarged it. And these are our two managers. The blonde is no longer working now; she's retired, and the other girl has been with us for 30 years and still working. Well, the time had come for us to retire, so we sold the store to our Monica and Peter, and the store is now almost 37 years old, and it's doing absolutely great in the shopping mall. Now, and these are our two entrepreneurs, the new owners, Peter and Monica Judd. And this is our Beth, the manager, who just hit her 30th anniversary with Times Square. And now I will end my narration and just show you some pictures of the new store, what the kids have done with it.